Morning and welcome to another episode of Behind the Spotlight. We're going to do this again, my friends. Today we have another friend of mine, because you know I bring my friends on here. Her name is Maeve Ferguson. She's the coolest chick ever because she really believes that your business should work for you, not around you. Not believe in bro marketing, and she helps 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners attract qualified leads and streamline operations. Here she is. Hello, my friend.
Hey, hey, lovely, lovely to see you. It's so brilliant to be here.
Lovely to see you. I was like, again, let's try this again. And I was just talking about how your business is really about attracting the quality leads, streamlining operations, and building that business that's not the consistent hustle. We like a hustle, right? We like to do the work, but we
Yep,
don't need consistent.
exactly. So I think it's all about how can we do the hard work in the first place so that we don't have to hustle and grind ourselves half to death and we can actually enjoy the lives that our businesses are there to give us. That is a huge, huge, huge nuance. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a really different way that people haven't been thinking. But you know, you brought up that you want to have like a healthy life, and you have such an incredible story that we didn't get to last time. I'd love you to share up front a little bit more of the story of like, because you're not like some mom that came out of nowhere. You actually have a corporate background and
Exactly.
a tech nerd. So you know I'm in love already. But tell us more.
Yeah, so you and I were geeking out on this the other day, and we'll get to all of that in a moment. But yeah, so I used to work in the private equity industry. I trained in Ernst& Young in London, did that for many, many years, doing the whole living in hotels, traveling the world, working for corporate Big Four. And then I moved into the private equity industry. I was managing a team of 47 people. Absolutely like loved, loved, loved that job. I was at that chapter of my life where I was dating but not married, no kids, didn't own a house, was just renting. So doing that very, you didn't realize it at the time, but a very kind of free life. But what ended up happening, and this is probably a personality trait, so there's something in there to like dig into as well. But I was overdoing it, kind of working far, far too hard, overtraining. I was running marathons, was training 6 days a week, just kind of burning the candle at both ends, having a really nice life, traveling a lot as well. And very, very long story cut short, I caught a virus. So I was halfway up the swimming pool one morning as I trained most mornings before work. And I was like, I don't feel too good. And I went home and I basically spent the next 4 years between bed and the sofa. So just from absolutely like I was winning 25-kilometer races to needing to be in a wheelchair to get around the inside of my house for the best part of 4 years. So it was a huge learning experience and very character forming.
Yeah, well, and you really turned all of that into a business. Like, so you didn't go right back to corporate. You started creating your own business then.
No, so when I recovered, I did go back to corporate. So I did like a whole, phased return, and it was one of those things. It was very short-lived. So I did go back. Probably wasn't physically well enough to go back when I did, but I was kind of like, soul destroyed. I wanted to go back and actually get something back in my life. And it was like one of these things. I remember my first venture out of the house, and I went down to the shop to buy milk, and I just was like, everybody was moving so fast. I was like, why are all these people shouting? Because they were obviously just
Right.
talking, like bustling around, going about their normal lives. But whenever you've been in the house for that long, so unwell, it's just everybody seemed to be going at 100 miles an hour. So that was really interesting. Then I did go back to corporate. They were very supportive and all of that, but it was very soon after that I realized I'm here for more than this. So I left corporate, retrained as an executive coach, started doing that, and then very quickly realized that I was actually very good at the tech and the funnels and the systems and the automation, which is the thing that most experts hate. And then the rest is history.
The rest is a celebrated history because not only do we hate tech, most people, I love that kind of tech stuff, but you really figured out a way to create a product, a diagnostic tool that's really going to get you the leads that you normally aren't able to qualify. And I think that's a huge, and I love how you call it a diagnostic tool and not a quiz, because it's
Yeah,
so much more than a quiz. For transparency, Maeve and I actually had a call yesterday, and she walked me through more of the back end of how you're tagging and how much data you have on all the people that actually are coming in versus you have their email list and what they've downloaded. What do you see as the
exactly.
biggest mistakes that people are making?
So I think for me, it's like everything that we get good at comes from experience. Okay, so I did the whole launching, I did the Facebook challenges, I did everything that everybody on the internet told me to do. Okay, and when we have that tenacity and grit to go through those experiences and have our lessons learned, we are able then to build better solutions to bring to the market. Okay, and what my experience was and what I was observing with so many amazing people is that they were really brilliant at what they did. They were a true expert, not somebody who just decided, yeah, exactly. Somebody like you who is like the person in the industry to show others how to get exactly what they want. But they are following basically all of these other people who maybe did a thing once, got results, and then decided to sell it to everybody else on the internet. Okay. And basically what I was observing were so many super talented people who were, for example, dropping 5K on Facebook ads for their challenge launch, or they ran 5K a month to Facebook ads to some PDF thing. And what has ended up happening, all of these people, where they were putting the absolute kitchen sink into their once a year event, okay, getting to the end of it and probably blaming members of their team for their marketing being off, or tech failing, or some exterior thing or external thing that had happened, or the market is shifting, everything's changing, as to why it didn't go well. But ultimately, when we actually deep dive into and reverse engineer what actually happened to so many people, is that they just had hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people signed up for this thing that just are not qualified to work with them. They are not the right person. And if you think about that, and I know you understand this so well, when you think about this, the journey of buyer awareness from somebody who, and I always use the weight loss example here, okay, because I have like the perfect person that is like, don't ever try to sell me a weight loss product, it ain't gonna work. I like my steak, I like my chips, right? So if you have, let's pretend I was 600 pounds overweight, okay, and I didn't even know that this was an issue, but I saw some free thing when I'm scrolling through Instagram that I barely had to tap a button to put my email address in to get the thing. It goes to my spam folder. I'm probably eating chips on the sofa, what you guys call chips, what we call crisps, scrolling away. I don't even go and look at that thing. Okay, I don't even know I have a problem. Never mind actually want to fix it. Never mind want to part with my hard-earned cash to actually pay for the thing. Then we have those people who, I know I'm 600 pounds overweight, but I actually I don't really want to do anything about it. I don't know that I'm headed for a heart attack. Then we have the people who are like, yeah, I know I want to do something about this, but I don't actually know what the options are out there for me. Okay. Then we have the people who are, right, there is expert A, expert B, and expert C that could help me. And then the last version of people who are like, right, here's my credit card, I'm ready to buy. And what most people are doing is that they are filling their email lists and their launches and all of these things full of people who have no intention of ever investing in themselves to solve the problem. They've got no way of knowing whenever they have, say, 100 leads come through for their PDF thing, okay? They have no way of discerning, is that person somebody who has the financial resources to invest in themselves, okay? Because again, one of the biggest irritations to me in this industry is like these people who are dancing around their businesses like some half-baked hobby. Okay, if you were running an actual business, my husband runs, dear love him, he runs like not a brick and mortar, but he runs a horse transport company. When you're actually running a real business with real overhead, all of this nonsense of like, oh, I don't want to email my list in case they unsubscribe. Are we measuring unsubscribes here, or are we measuring profit in companies? Okay, so there's this whole idea that people are building these businesses that aren't actually real businesses. And I think with the advent of AI, it's actually going to be a good thing, because it's going to get rid of a whole lot of rubbish in the industry, the people who aren't actually that good. So the people that maybe you have been competing with for all of these years, who the industry is going to realize they're not actually that good at what they do, and it's going to spit them out. Okay, but the whole idea is that instead of you, or if you have a sales team who are doing all of these sales conversations with horribly qualified leads, the whole premise here is that when you have a diagnostic assessment that both has people get crystal clear on where they are and what they need to solve for, and also separates the wheat from the chaff. Much as we love the people who can't invest in themselves or won't invest in themselves, go and listen to my podcast. Okay, I want to speak to the serious buyers, so I build machines for our clients that essentially tell us, here are the people who are ready to go today.
Right, which is what everybody really wants, because just the image of like, okay, so you downloaded my PDF and now it's in your email. I don't really know if you've used it, if you've opened it on that side too. So, I'm like, well, I think it works because it gets downloaded, or I think I've gotten 100 new leads from it, but it's not actually giving me any data in my business. Because who wants to have sales calls when the first thing they say is like, well, I have no money to invest, or I have a 9-to-5 job, and you're
Exactly.
like,
So exactly. Yeah, and say for example, so there's kind of a two angles to this conversation. Let's say you're like in what I call an ROI market, like you are and I are, and I am. Okay, so we help people sign more clients, get more business, make more money. Okay, so there's one of the questions that we can ask inside of our diagnostic is, what is your current revenue level? Okay, so if somebody is not yet doing 10K a month, okay, I don't want to talk to them, okay, because they're not ready for me, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There are a gazillion other people out there that can help them, okay, but they're not my person. They are not the person who is going to be seen as a thought leader. They are not the person who needs this diagnostic infrastructure in their business, okay, and that's okay. Okay, so we are able to ask those questions, okay, like if you're spending 10K a month in Facebook ads, let's have a conversation. Okay, for you, because it's a completely different human. They have experiencing completely different things. The people who have sales teams whose calendars are full of really bad quality leads, those are the people that I want to speak to. You don't want to speak to people who are like, what's my niche? Never mind knowing exactly what shows they want to be on, because you know that you're the person that's going to get them booked on those shows. You have the methodology that shows them exactly how to be positioned on all of these like mind-blowing names of podcasts, etc. Okay,
right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Now I always get this poor me thing from people who are in ROI, non-ROI niches, but like, oh, it's different for us. But it's not really, okay, because their diagnostic question comes to, right, how painful is this problem for people? Let's go back to the weight loss example. If I just kind of realized 3 days ago that I was horribly overweight, it's not really impacting my health. Kind of look a little bit chubby, like chubby cheeks Maeve, but do I really care? Not so much. How much have I invested to solve this problem? Absolutely zip, okay? That's not a quality lead.
No.
Now, if I am about to have a heart attack and my kids are going to be left with no mommy, okay, that's painful. If I have spent $10,000, I'm currently, I have a PT, I'm doing a lot of strength training, I'm investing in my health.
Right.
That is a marker that I'm a much better quality lead than somebody that doesn't give a dang, okay? And instead of spending their money on losing weight, they're buying takeaways, okay? I buy the takeaways as well, just for, I shouldn't say this because my PT is actually on Instagram, so they might actually see this. So I don't need any takeaways, I promise, right? So anyhow, back to diagnosis. So those are the questions. If you have a non-ROI niche, how much have they spent already to solve this problem, and how long have they been trying to solve this problem? That's how you separate your wheat from the chaff, okay? So that's the quality of the lead piece. But then back again, if you think about what we did yesterday and this whole diagnostic, and you saw I popped the hood on the back end of our assessment and the data and the insights that I have on every single lead that comes into our business. Somebody comes through our assessment, I'm able to pull up their personalized report in a sales conversation, and we're able to laser in on this specific thing that they're struggling with because they told us what it was. and we're able to wrap and frame the sales conversation around it. And this is why my sales conversion rate and my team's sales conversion rate is 80% or more, because the people coming to us, the only people that I get on a phone call with are the people who are already qualified, and the people who I'm able to literally look at their diagnosis and prescribe them a solution that is bespoke to them.
It's simply amazing. You know, understanding how to get the right lead in, have the right conversations, or offer them, you know, the down sells without in mass versus, you know, having to have all those conversations, or paying a salesperson who's not making closing leads because it's the wrong leads to be.
Yeah. How you know, before we jump into the next bit, just how you will know. So if you are like a true industry expert and your business is at the stage, you will know that your business is suffering from this if your team are starting to finger point at each other. Okay, so the sales team are blaming the marketing team are blaming the sales team. Everybody is starting to say, not my fault, not my bad, it's not me.
Right.
And that's how the fractures that you'll see in your internal team will indicate to you that you've got a lead quality problem.
No, it totally makes sense. But the other thing that I picked up on that you said as well is like, I don't have to launch because I've consistently, right, if I'm growing my list, because all of us are growing our list and then launching. But
Yeah.
I guess the question, like, what are the pushbacks, right? Do I have to have an evergreen product? Do I have to have 10,000 people on my email list and be making $10,000 to work with you?
So it's not to work with me. So I think it's not about having that. I have clients, for example, who have an over a 6-figure business and maybe 49 leads. Okay, so I am not a person that is into vanity metrics. Okay, but where a diagnostic assessment is too soon for your business, okay, is that if you don't yet know the visceral fix me right now pain points of your ideal client. Okay, so that's one of the first things people say, well, what do I need to have one of these? You need to know, and not know the really poor version of your ideal client, but rather flick it to this rich niche. Okay, so who are the players in your niche, whether that's an ROI niche or a non-ROI niche,
Right.
that actually are the people that want to do something about this. Okay, then we build a diagnostic that gives them infinite more value than some crappy PDF that's like a one pager. Okay, that's like just a little list builder, which is grand when you're getting started. I used to teach a quick fire lead magnet thing. It's like, get somebody on your list is better than nobody. Okay, yeah. But as you get more and more sophisticated as a company, you want to start to see who are these people. And then this is why I teach this hand raiser process, and we do it for our clients, where you literally are emailing your list and having your people saying me, right, every single day. So every single day, the absolute hottest people on our list, who we already have this segmented information on, are raising their hand to me. Okay, and this is how you then just have this, calls getting into your calendar or your team's calendar on a consistent basis, and none of them are horrible quality leads. Okay, so as long as you know and you're an expert in what you do, I think that is a must. Right. Because if you are like, this is like, you maybe don't even understand this because you are so good at what you do. But if you are or anybody that's watching, if you are mediocre at what you do, if you are average at what you do, it doesn't matter what bell and whistle you plug in, it ain't going to work, because your people are going to smell a rat a mile away. Yeah, that's where the industry is going. Yeah,
I love the way you, like, on a side, I just love the little things that you say. But for me, one of the things that piqued my interest the most, before I knew about the data, before I knew what the back end looked like, was really about, like, it's a consistent funnel into my business to sell, not a consistent, because a lot of, I find out in the world, and when clients come to me and I look at their funnels, I'm like, oh, this is a nurture funnel. This is why you're not selling it. And this is a consistent funnel that you're able to every day. And I love the idea. I love the add-on, which I don't think that we talked about last time, is that it's not just you're creating this tool. When you work with clients, it's really a whole system that you're implementing into your business.
Mm-hmm. So it's an entire infrastructure, because it's an ecosystem. Because if you think about it, And any funnel, like our company, we build these assessments, these diagnostic funnels for
Right.
our clients. And I am the first person to say that it is completely pointless if there's no water running through the pipes. Okay, so this is why what you do is absolutely critical. Okay, because what you do is you're the person that puts the water through the pipes. If you're sitting there with a diagnostic, it is completely pointless if you don't have the capability to put people through it. Okay, so whether that is, do this three ways. We have organic strategies, we have scalable organic, which is where you come in, or we
Yep.
have paid traffic. Okay, and if you have 6 followers on Instagram, okay, and you, or Facebook, or wherever, whatever platform you're on, and you have 3 people clicking on that assessment a month, you know, you're not going to build $1 million business. It doesn't work like that. And so many people have this expectation that, like, I have a thing, but if there's no water flowing through the pipes, it is completely pointless. And what we are actually doing is, you know, run a few thousand people through this thing, then we get the data, then we get the insights, then we get to optimization, because every single one of us, all of our businesses, we have holes in our leaky bucket. So we want to actually know and have that all stripped out so we can actually see all of the holes in our leaky bucket, and we just close them one by one and obsessively optimize that machine instead of jumping on to the next shiny thing and the next thing. Oh, give me something else and something else and something else. Actually see something through. So that optimization piece is absolutely huge, but you can't optimize until you've got the data.
Right. And then you have the people. So it's always building your list, but you're building a list through sales calls, not just building a list through.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I can't wait to do it. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, because I know that people are watching and they're like, okay, well, I have an IP, or I sort of have an IP. Like, how does that work when somebody comes to you in that?
Yeah. So basically, an IP, for anybody that doesn't yet know, it's intellectual property. Okay, and what intellectual property is, it's a fancy name for, do you have a methodology? Do you have a framework? I used to call it a standout approach. What is your way to get your people results? Okay, so whenever you hear me talking about, I talk about IP, that's what I mean, right? So last time we did this live, and then Instagram gremlins deleted the whole thing. We actually took, so if you're up for it today, we can do this again, where I can actually talk through how I would extract your IP from your brain, and then how we would turn that into that diagnostic assessment for your business. Okay, so are you up for it?
I am. I pulled up my whole stuff again. So
Brilliant. Happy days. Right. So, and I'm a scribbler, by the way, because I scribble as I think. So if you see me looking down, I am like just in gremlin mode. Right. So when you think about this, you always want to begin with the end in mind. Okay. So we're going to reverse engineer from your program, because that is ultimately the thing you're trying to sell. Now, for us, we sell a done for you service. Somebody else might be a consultant, you might be a coach, you might, doesn't matter. Okay. What are you optimizing for? Where are we driving people? Okay. So tell me the name of your program.
It's called Mike to Millions, the Profitable Podcast Guest System.
Fabulous. Okay. Happy to share the investment?
4,997.
Okay, oh my goodness, that is a steal. I spent 10K on exactly the same thing. Okay, so you need to increase your prices big time, right? So anyway, right, so let's reverse engineer that. That is what where we are sending people.
Right.
Now, what we want to do is make sure, and I always use this terrible example, so forgive me, but what we don't want to do is have a diagnostic assessment that is all about gardening, okay, and then have a program that is about synchronized swimming. Okay, because we don't have funnel. There's an extreme example. Okay, I don't know the first thing of it either, totally honest, but it's called funnel congruence. Okay, so if we have people going through our diagnostic assessment, and then they get to your offer and they're like, that's not what I thought this was about. Okay, it's a lack of funnel congruence, and people are going to bounce. Okay, so when you hear me say bounce, that is people who just hop out and they're like, nah, that's not for me. So what we want to do is have funnel congruence right from your top of funnel messaging, the whole way through your diagnostic, and beautifully and elegantly through to your program. Okay, so we're selling Mike to Millions. How are we currently, what's the current sales mechanism for that?
A sales call into the.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so we've got a sales conversation. Now, if you are watching this and you have either what I call a micro course, like a micro product, which is your little $47, $97 thing with a bump and an OTO and all of those things, Those work beautifully. Sales calls work beautifully as well. We have actually moved to that model ourselves because we have done for you services. And they also work really well to hyper qualified leads before they go to your masterclass. Okay, so have a think about what is your sales mechanism, what is the best way for you to convert lead to client, because everybody's business is different. There is no cookie cutter. Okay, so we're going to go to a sales call. That's fine. Now, we want to then reverse engineer out of that. And when we think about, and when you saw me pop the hood on the back end of our assessment yesterday, you could see that we had scores on every single one of our leads in a range of different categories. Okay, so what I actually did there was, let's talk through mine. I actually sat with my framework and said, right, A, where am I sending people? B, let's reverse engineer out of that. And what are the areas that I want to give them insight into their current level of performance or how they're getting on? Okay, so if you think about that for you, what are the different categories that you help people with inside of Mike to Millions? Now, whether they are sequential or whether they are standalone categories, just talk me through those one by one.
All right, so the first thing we go over is messaging that converts. How is how are you telling your story so that it converts people into action? They understand that you're their person. The second is interview to influence, how to actually have the best interview, how to work with a podcast host, how to actually create the back opportunity for yourself within that.
Well, hang on. So let's keep it the pillar level. Okay, so we've got a messaging pillar, we've got an interview pillar.
And then
what other pillars do we have?
Conversion and sales. Some conversion and scaling.
And scaling. Okay. Right. So those are what I would call your category scores. Okay. So let's say, for example, you had you'll come up with your assessment hook after you finish all of this. Okay. But it's something around visibility. It's something around profitable speaking opportunities, something like that. Right. Inside of that, we now have 4 category scores: your messaging score, your interview score, interview readiness, maybe something like that. We have your conversion score, and we have your scaling score. Okay, so how can you use this methodology and not work yourself half to death? Okay,
exactly.
Brilliant. So those are the main categories. Okay, now within each of those, within messaging, within interview, whenever you're talking about messaging with your clients,
right,
how would you break that down? So are there 2, 3, or 4 kind of subcategories within messaging? Call those out to me next.
So in that, there's the sound system, there's the story matrix, and then there's the profit positioning.
Okay, what was the first one? Sorry, I think I misheard.
The sound bite system.
Oh, sound bites. Oh, lovely. Okay.
You need sound bites when you do interviews.
Yeah, brilliant.
And how to
brilliant. Okay, love it. Love it. Right. Interview to influence. Again, same methodology. Yep. Talk me through your subcategories for that.
So podcast pitch.
Pitch. Yeah.
Your guest expert energy. And
lovely.
Your conversion interview formula.
Okay, and then is that so that there's 3 within that?
Yep.
Okay, from conversion then, same exercise.
There's 2. It's the monetization map and your post-interview profit system.
Okay, and then for scaling?
And scaling is leverage and amplify.
So give me normal person language for amplify. What do you mean by that?
It's a promotion strategy. Let's call it that.
Promotion. Okay. Right. So what we then have is you're going to have your overall score. Okay. Right. So whenever people go through your assessment, they're going to get their overall score. Now you can either share that score as a percentage. Okay. So your XYZ score is 62%. Or what you can do is tier by tier give that percentage a label. Okay, so that's what I have in mind. For example, I have foundation builders, I have momentum makers, and I have power players. Okay, so you can give them that diagnosis. We'll get to that in a moment. So essentially what you have talked me through there is your framework that has come from your program,
Right.
and it's common sense that when people get a diagnosis against each of these
Mm-hmm.
areas, you will be able to see what they're struggling with the most. And then in that sales conversation, remember, you're only having that sales conversation with the people that meet criteria A and criteria B, and you're able to zoom in and focus on their lowest scores. Okay. So what I would say there is that we're going to have, for your category level, you're going to have a messaging score, an interview score, interview score, conversion, monetization score or conversion score, something like that, and then your scaling score.
Right.
Okay, so again, imagine this now that you've seen the visual yesterday that we went through, okay? Imagine having, so you're going through personalized report and all of this is broken down, okay? Branded in your colors, all of those fancy things. Then you're saying, right, your messaging score is X. Here's what it means. Here's the impact that it's having on you. Here's what's going to happen if you don't do about it. And here's the thing as well. The people who score in a high category see completely different copy to the people who score medium score.
Wow.
See a completely different copy than the person who scores a lower score. Okay, so it's not blanket plug and play where everybody sees the same
Right.
thing. If they see medium in one or score medium in one but low in another, they see completely different copy to somebody who scored something else. Okay, so that's kind of how clever it can be.
Right.
And then say inside, it's just mad. Inside your messaging score, then you could have a soundbite score, story score, and positioning score. All right. Then inside of your interview score, you have a pitch score, energy score, and conversion interview. Talk me through the conversion interview formula. What's that?
It's a four-part framework so that you can have the ability to tell your story within that framework so they convert during your interviews.
Okay, so I want to do something here like maybe conversion readiness score, okay? Because again, people who don't get podcast guessing and don't follow your methodology, they're going on and just talking to random people about random
Yeah.
stuff. They're not actually signing the 10K clients as you get all of your clients to do from each and every single conversation, okay? So something maybe about conversion readiness score, okay? We could wordsmith that and play with that.
Right.
Moving on then to the conversion score, you've got a monetization potential, is how I would frame that. So your monetization potential score and your post-interview profit score, that's too long. Profit potential score is what I would call that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have scaling score, and we have our promotion score and our leverage score. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, depending on your audience, you'll want to think about, is that leverage score, is that ideal client language? Is that something that they would say? I would imagine so with the caliber of people that you work with, okay? But we always want to make sure that, is this diagnosis that they're going to get, is it going to make sense to them? Okay? People go through your assessment. We obviously then start from those subcategories, then we craft all of your questions, okay? And you build them in a way, and this is where your expertise comes in, okay? So what I mean by that is, earlier I said you've got to be an expert at what you do. The biggest way your clients are going to get that you don't really know what you're doing is if how the questions are phrased, it's really clear that you don't get it. Okay, what you want here is that, and if, say my assessment, it takes you a good 15 minutes to go through it, and people are going through it, and it's like, God, these are interesting questions. This is really making me actually go,
Yeah.
good point.
The answer going through yours.
Yeah.
And I went back to one of them, like, okay, that's the right answer. Like I was really thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole idea between, and this is why you hear me talk about diagnostic assessments and not quizzes, because people in the industry have this feeling like a gimmicky quiz where it's like, what's your Disney princess type? It's just nonsense, okay? The whole idea with these diagnostic assessments is that we are really, somebody who, I'm actually using it, I want people to fall off. Because again, that's another wheat from the chaff mechanism. The people who get to the end, the people who actually open the report, the people who actually book a call, it's a lead with a way bigger vested interest than somebody who can't manage to possibly go past question 2. It's like, bye, go and get somebody else to help you. That's cool. Okay. And yes, we have the mop up sequences and all of that fancy stuff. But the whole idea is that this is a true diagnostic, and the people who actually get their diagnosis are serious
Right.
leads.
And and correct me if I'm wrong, but you also are sending them, like we talked about my Mike to Millions program, but
Yep.
I also have a less time and expensive program called Monetize Your Mike.
Yep.
That if those answered certain questions like that, they would go into that funnel and then could just
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you think about all of these leads coming through, and especially if you have different products, different services. So like say I have 6 micro courses, okay, covering a range of different topics. They're like little $47, $97 things, okay. And it's like not all leads are created equal, okay, but not all leads are going to buy my 10K or my 30K thing, and that's okay. All
yeah.
right, but it doesn't mean we don't have other solutions for them, okay. But what you want to do is, instead of like people join someone's email list and they just like spray it, hopefully something might stick here. Okay,
Yeah.
instead of that, I think about like little tunnels, okay, of all of these different people all going down different avenues and all seeing different messaging, different positioning. Again, what you're seeing inside of my funnel is different to what the next person is
Yeah.
seeing, because they got a different result to you.
It blows my mind. You know what's coming up for me is like all those people out there that say they're going to launch or hiring somebody to help them do the launching. Instead, go invest in me because you don't have to do that. Right? It's all
You don't have to launch. I haven't launched in, gosh, 5 years.
right, but it's all the things that you would do on a launch and qualifying them and giving them information through that funnel so that you can just be able to serve your people and not spend so much time, energy, frankly, money doing something that might not convert at a high enough level. Because you said 80% conversion. Like that's crazy.
On sales calls. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, because the person coming through, like again, we had a conversation yesterday. It's like the person coming through, they already, I would say, like it sounds amazing, like we're amazing at sales. I am not. It's like,
Good.
it's more a how does it work and when can I start conversation, as opposed to let me tell you all about my program and I can convince you as to why you want to join. It's not really a sales call in the typical sense, because it's much more the people who actually get through to the opportunity to hop in on a call with me or Dan on my team. It is like, it's more how and when conversation.
Yeah. I'm like, it's so crazy. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for mine. If anybody, we have a couple people watching. If anybody question, please post in the comment chat so that we it.
Yeah, and then the other thing I would say, just as we're waiting for comments to come through, is if you would like me to do exactly what I did with Beth there, so extract her IP and turn it into the framework that she can then use to build her assessment, I am going to be giving Beth, let's go with 4 guest passes. Okay, so Beth can gift these to people who she wants, where she can gift you, okay, a pass for me to do this live with you for your business. Okay, so there's 4 tickets there. If you want one of them, comment ticket down below or something like that. And then what Beth and I then will do is look at those people and see who we will decide to gift those 4 tickets to.
100%. I can't wait. And it's, you guys, it's mind blowing. It's changing the way I'm thinking about how I'm going to do second and third quarter of my business and just be able to serve the people that I want to serve and have the data. Because the other side is then you have real data on your clients. So no matter what you're doing next, and especially if there's been a big conversation about, selling your business or, getting investors or moving into a different type of business, when you have that kind of data on the back end, that's what those investors see. That's what those people looking to buy brands want. And when you have that data for years and really can show them who your people are and what their activities are, I assume you can make more money, but you also have a more dedicated path or journey you're going to take to get there. So
Absolutely, yeah. Like there's so many, and again, the newer entrepreneur just doesn't get this yet. And again, that's not okay, they're not there yet. But what you and I both know is that data is power, okay? And what the data actually allows you to do like even forgetting about everything you've just said, which is all like kind of the amazing upside, what the data actually allows you to do is, first of all, top of funnel content. Okay, so as I showed you yesterday, here's how to go through all of your charts and all of your graphs and all of this data and analytics that you have and actually convert that into top of funnel content. And what you can start to see then is almost this flywheel effect. The more and more data you have, the more water you have through the pipes, the more information you have, the more you can improve your top of funnel messaging, and it just becomes this flywheel that gets better and better and better. And what I also love to do is give it permission to inform you about new offers. Okay, because we all have our own beliefs. Okay, so we sit there and we think and we speak to our clients and we do what we think the market wants us to do. But inside of these assessments, they're actually telling you their biggest struggles. So if 92% of people have voted a certain way on a certain question with a certain answer, with sufficient data through the water through the pipes, okay, to actually make that statistically significant, you can kind of go, gosh, I didn't even know people were struggling with that. Okay, now if that is something that you can't help them with, okay, so like say for me, for example, I don't know the first thing about teaching other people to get on their podcast, get on the most amazing podcast, and more importantly, not get on the podcast, but actually monetize the podcast, right? That appearance, okay? So what then I do is that if I have all of this data and all of these leads who have already told me that this is their biggest struggle, and then I'm sending them to you in a JV relationship, okay? And we then there's financial remuneration, even though I'm not an expert in that space, I have my key players in the industry that I am sending people to. The same with the girls in Essetino, anybody who needs serious help with YouTube. I don't know the first thing about YouTube, so I'm sending them off there, okay? And again, it's like thinking more strategically instead of being like in this little hobby business that I'm just doing this one little thing, you know?
And figure out what we're doing. Well, I know, Maeve, you blow my mind again. Every time I get to hang out with you, I learn so much, and I'm so excited.
And I'm going to see you in May in New York.
I'll see you in May in New York. And again, listening, if you DM me tickets, you can win one of 4 free tickets that Maeve has offered us to work with her and go through your framework and see what your diagnostic tool could actually be. Maeve, I'm sending you so much love. I can't wait to see you on this side of the pond.
Yes.
And I'll talk to you soon.
See you in May. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.